Hello there, Selective Collective. Only say that because you are in the right vibration to hear this message. So, I got a comment the other day on me speaking about the Archons and requesting that I go a little bit more into it of what I know, right? So this comes from Gnosticism. You hear me on this channel talking a lot about, I kind of weave it in some quotes I will get, here and there from the Bible, the Gnostics, right? And different texts though. And the best way kind of to explain where I'm coming from is my resonance with this story. So the story begins with Sophia, as far as we know. Actually begins with the monad. I'll say the monad is this one source energy where everything comes from. It is divinity. It is the light itself, right? It is everything. You have Sophia, you have a divine feminine energy, and you have Christ or Christos. So you have a divine masculine energy. And so their story, though, for creation and how this world is organized makes a lot more sense to me. So because growing up the Old Testament, I always had a problem with, it didn't feel right to me. Growing up, the Old Testament felt, it felt like they were talking about two different gods. One that was in the New Testament, loving and kind, and then the Old Testament being one who is jealous and and strikes violence often. And so I kind of was very open to different interpretations of how that came to be. And so there's the story of in the Gnostic tradition where Sophia, this divine feminine energy, decides she's going to have children. She's going to conceive, but she's going to do so without her divine masculine. So without Christ, the pathway to, just as hers is, but ultimately one of the main pathways to the monad, right? So she has these kids, and basically they are born with no spark of divinity being expressed whatsoever, no connection to the monad, but they have a lot of power. Okay, so they are described as the ones who think that they are God. They know of the hallmark of the Archons in the beginning was ignorance, because they thought of themselves as to be the only one because of this null and void connection with the one, the monad, right? So they see this other energy, this Christ energy. They see what's happening in the heavens, right? Where there's rule, but it's through the monad. It's ordered. It's structured. It's what's a good word? Coherence. It has coherence, right? And they want to copy it. They want to copy this. They want to bring down what they see as a light and then express it here on this place called Earth. So what we would call that is false light, because there's no actual connection and there's a lot of disorder because the energy isn't in alignment with the divine will. It is well, you think of jealousy, right? Jealousy, a jealous God, anger, vengeance. These are the things on the opposite polarity that they would reach out to. They're essentially a shadow of what they're a shadow of what the monad realm holds, that calls true and divine and light, right? So they create their own breeds. They create humans. Okay, out of this creation all of a sudden something pops up that they didn't know, they weren't expecting. There's a divine spark inside this human, this creation, where they lack divine spark, right? So they essentially created something that has more power than itself. And they're trying to hold on to their power. That's a big thing. And that's also I feel prophecy wise, what is actually happening is okay, I'm going way ahead of myself. I'm sorry. So they create these humans. We have Adam, we have Eve, we have beings that once they ate from the tree of good and evil, there's good and evil, right? You have the knowledge of both. When you ate from that specific tree, they don't view it as bad in this book or this version. They view Adam and Eve as taking the apple, realizing, hey, some of these things that are happening is not good, but this is divine, this is good. They have a different type of power. It's a connection Adam and Eve have straight here to divine. They're definitely connected to Sophia, because remember, Sophia made the Archons. The Archons made us. So definitely connected to Sophia. So, but what I was getting to is like end times. End times prophecy where Christ comes down to meet his bride. If these two get together, they create coherence, they create a divine, orderly place. And there's really no place for these energies that have been constructing and even feeding, you could say, off of energies of fear, of like, so they're the opposite, right? So when the Christ comes to meet his bride Sophia, things are changing. And so we're actually in a time, I feel like, where that's happening. I believe this is Christ consciousness, and I believe these archons are more of a entity, an energetic entity, very high vibrational compared to us, as far as being able to see different dimensions and things like that. But so when that comes, that's what we call new rule. New rule. Okay, and so it's love. It's love, and it's that's the best way I know how to explain that. But yeah, so for the person that was interested, you can find out a lot more information on it. You know, not just Jesus, but a lot of ascended masters have told us to go within. They have also been telling us that this place is an illusion, and that this is not the real deal. Just wait, like the real deal's coming. But you do have access to it, so you gaining that access is very important. And best way you could do that is just by getting more information for yourself, keeping an open mind, and yeah. So let's see what your message other than that is. I'm using a new deck, the Glyph, the Sacred Symbols Oracle. I like it. Glyph. I like it a lot. Yeah. And teachings of transcendence too. In philosophy, like I always was thinking, is there something off? Why is everything or everyone that is a spiritual leader talking about this type of illusion, this type of control, or this type of almost like being in prison in a sense, right? It's almost like that, a false light, a prison of false light, a matrix that was copied off of what the divine looks like, the divine matrix, but it is not it. And so I feel like the people I talk to are the ones who are building onto this divine matrix as the one thing that the Archons would fear the most is for you to realize your power as the divine child, because it is evoking jealousy in them, because they do not have that. So they have jealousy over humans. Okay. Ooh, yeah, that's another thing. That's another message too. The coins in abundance, they have for a long time controlled and corrupted the money situation and the energy behind money. We're seeing this so strongly now, of some of the atrocities that are linked to simply having a lot of money, and it's really sad, but you see it crumbling, right? I am not, I'm one of many that are saying, yeah, we're sitting back waiting for shadows to be exposed, because we know that there's been a mishandling of wealth, riches, and so I feel that this is also a time where we're gonna have what you call your divine inheritance. Your divine inheritance is to be actually the bridegroom together, and then you can create whatever you want. You can have what you want. You're not meant to be a slave in this world, not the way that they have had it, and they have had every single one of us into a slave of some type of control or some type of social norm that you must fit into. This is control, and it's often money that backs this type of control. So this is a transfer, a wealth transfer, and it will be happening. It's already happening, but it will be happening. And you'll see the divine come out on top here. You'll see the light and win in this scene, because the thing that the Archons, or the thing that maybe they don't realize, is that there are people here that are connected to the divine, and we know that there is a plan in place. And though we know that even when our lives are very chaotic, we get through it, because when it comes down to it, like, we always come full circle and back to, at least I have my faith. At least I have belief that things are getting better, that things are turning around, and that I'm here to be the witness right now. Here to be the witness. Okay, this stuff always really interests me. Of course, this is a good sign for your own money. I have the sword with conflict and the sword. Okay, so we'll have to look. I want to look up both of these. Number 47. Oh, that's interesting. Isn't our president number 47 right now? Which is ironic, because unrelated, that happens to be my favorite number. Not because of him, because of my dad's birthday. It was in that year. So it always means a lot to me, that number. And that was my mom's birthday, 26. That's interesting. Those two numbers. Oh, okay, so let me look up 26. Let's first go on abundance. They may be saying that what we're seeing right now is a conflict, and it has a lot to do with this money situation. Here. Goodness. Okay. All right. Now, usually the sword here is there is also a talk of the return of Christ consciousness, or Christ, and that was bringing a swift sword, an iron sword. He'll be coming in, bringing a sword of iron, right? To bring the truth, to cut away from all of the illusion, right? So that's another thing I'm going to get in from that. But the coin says you're on solid ground right now. There's no need to worry. You're going to reap what you sow. Financial gain. They're just saying all the things that I've really said. Visualize and affirm abundance. But with this reading, we're gonna go a little bit more towards the Gnostic talk, right? And in the end times, in the Gnostics, in the end times, there's it's not all like doom and gloom. It's actually quite lovely. Divine counterparts end up finding each other. just as Sophia and Christ consciousness find each other, the true match, the divine match, right? That's also something that happens. And remember, when I say, oh, the end times, these things in the books can go spans of thousands of years, okay? So no need to get in any kind of hurry for anything. Nobody knows the exact times on any of that stuff. But I have gotten a lot of messages regarding divine counterparts here lately. I would say the last year. And the problems that come in between, you know, all of the things that go in between two people kind of meeting each other in the right space, the right time. There's a lot of things to get undone or cycles to be wrapped up. And that's a lot of times what a lot of these readings are even about. The sword represents the conflict and the resolution of challenges faced. Both external struggles against adversities and internal battles with oneself. In spiritual traditions worldwide, swords often represented the power of discernment and clarity of thought. They cut through illusions and falsehoods, revealing truth and wisdom. In Hindu mythology, for instance, the sword of knowledge is wielded by deities to dispel ignorance and cast off delusions. Similarly, in European medieval iconography, the sword was wielded by figures like Lady Justice, symbolizing impartiality and the pursuit of truth. All right, so here is a time where you need to focus. Your logical mind is your strongest asset at this time. There are a lot of distractions, okay? So a lot of distractions out here, everything from in the food you eat that affects you, and food is a chemical energy process, so that can definitely affect how you act, how you think, how you behave, to what medicines, vitamins you're using, if you're using any pharmaceuticals. And I'm not saying anything's good or bad, just be aware of what things are distracting you or making you feel anywhere unclear. Sometimes we're unclear, we're not knowing that we are because we're simply being distracted by something. Certainly AI and the phones and technology has a hand in making everything go overboard onto one side, I've noticed, you know, so it's we have to be careful. Just like in the story where the Archons were these things that were very powerful, they created something and it took over them. That could happen with tech people creating AI. So maybe we're seeing like a reverse or a parallel to that story too. That's interesting. And I'll have to think on that some more. Yeah, okay, so look beyond what appears on the surface here. It says, look beyond just the surface. Okay. Entropy. There's a lot of that here. There's a lot of that here. So that spark is within you. So the thing that they're trying to copy is actually a divine blueprint, a map that you contain naturally in your body. You can access it. And for yourself, right? Watch about being used, because you could definitely be used by somebody who has a different type of agenda. So that's why sovereignty is so important, and that's why it's so important to look within. It's because that is truly, and maybe literally, where the answers are stored within your DNA. Back to your divine blueprint. That would be back to even maybe even before everything was recorded here. Interesting. So you have the sword and we have selective shield. Both of those cards, you know, being pretty obvious to shield yourself at this time. Shield yourself, protect yourself. Give yourself spiritual protection. Burn some sage. Say a prayer. Call in your angels if you talk to angels. Call in whoever you want to. Just be aware of false light agenda as to who you're working with. Not because they can't grant things. Not because they're not powerful. Just that the one power that is held in all is between Sophia and the Christos or Christ, which leads to the monad. So your main source is monad, or what we call God. You can get that. All can be accomplished through that connection. So that's why it's important to selectively shield who you're working with. Shield, and it's all, I say this is like non-judgmental. It's going to be according to you. There's going to be things that fit with you. The story of the Gnostics might not even fit with you, and that's fine too. Just make sure you're still being sovereign with yourself and selectively allowing certain energies to come past. They're also saying that you are very protected. You're highly protected. Everyone that is a child of the divine spark is connected and protected. Some might be afraid of their own light, you know. The goal is to eventually move all beings that have a divine spark into the light, but not the false light. Again, another topic we could probably get into of some of these near-death experiences that I've heard that sound a little suspicious to me, and some that sound absolutely wonderful. And I think it's because there's different things going on even there. All my opinion though. Okay, so I encourage everybody to always have their own opinion and form their own opinions. So proton is positive, right? It's positive. It holds a positive charge. Well, let's see. I'm glad because positive's good. What's on the bottom here? Oh, full moon. And I think there's probably still what looks like a full moon out there right now in the constellation of Leo. You could probably, I think it was the first, but the full moon. A moon is significant anyway. Moon. Yeah, for changes, right? For changes, for cycles. And signs. A lot of different signs with different types of full moons you can find scattered throughout different types of prophecy and stars. There's wormwood. There's lots of different things. I think I told you about this. I actually had, well, if you're new here, I'll tell you about this. I had a dream about 2 years ago that was it 2 years? It was a year and a half maybe, or I don't know, it was a long time ago. And it was 3 moons. They were blood red. They were full. And one of them was glitching out in the sky. And I saw that and I thought that was a little odd. And then, so it's kind of stood out to me. I can't forget that dream. You know, one of those. It must have been important. And then here recently, probably about 3 months, maybe 3 months ago, maybe it was sooner than that, I had a dream of 2 moons in the sky, and time started in that dream. Time started speeding up, going like it was moving in warp speed. Didn't even have time to take a picture of the 2 moons, so it was interesting. But different things like that can be found as markers of maybe the times of change that we're in. Yeah, embrace the final stages of this cycle, knowing that completion is near. Take time to acknowledge and honor your feelings without judgment. Yeah, now is the time to forgive. Closure and healing are possible now. Allow yourself to heal from past wounds and move forward, and secrets may come to the light. Whoa. Goodness. Sorry. Secrets may come to the light. Okay. Binary star. I like to see that. Oh, inside real space. That's interesting. I have ultraviolet and sidereal space. Okay, and binary star. I love to see binary star. These are stars in harmony. They are on the same path. So they're both positive. Things are looking good. This can be your soul family, soul group. It can be just you meeting another person. There's something here about ultraviolet. This is energy that is affecting you in a negative, not so great way. But this is your ability to perceive it. So if you feel like sometimes there's an energy with an agenda that is helping you feel a certain way and it doesn't feel very good, then know that that's that's this ultraviolet energy that you're sensing, that you're picking up on. There's something here. The infinity is infinite possibilities, letting go of limitations so that you can embrace as many possibilities as possible or be open to them. Sidereal space is belonging like out there, right? It's out of, I think it's called out of this mind. Let me look up sidereal space. I think it's talking about vastness and that there's more out there for you, for me, for all of us. See, even in that story, the Garden of Eden was like created. It was like false light, according to their according to the way that they talk about it. So it's just interesting. Yeah, it says outside of you, outside of your control. Sidereal space is outside of the atmosphere of our planet and beyond our reach. We cannot control everything. There is nothing we can do when we're faced with certain things, as there are external factors which exceed our power. But sidereal means belonging to the stars or planet. There are hidden forces with a higher power which handle those things, and we of humans are of limited scope. Allowing cosmic forces to take control is the wisest response possible by anyone who trusts in a star guide. Yeah, okay, this is, you're seeing the unfolding of the divine will, of the divine plan. And even in apparent entropy, there is some sort of order here. Even if we're here to witness the unfolding, the unraveling of one form of power that is just simply not going to be here very much longer in control. Right. All right, so that's what I have for you all. I thought that was a good reading. Hope you liked it. Just something to talk about. I'm sure I'm not an expert, so it's just like what I know. So if you want to add anything, feel free. I hope you all have a wonderful next few days. Bye.